Welcome to OFFS, the show where we have a girlfriend chat about culture, fashion, food, health, relationships, and so much more. We've been friends for 25 years and it shows. Together we love to laugh, share stories, and talk all things popular culture. We are healthcare practitioners and we understand that community is what heals us, and we welcome you to ours. I'm Fiona.
And I'm Vanda.
And this is the OFFS podcast. Ooh. Yeah, this episode, this experience, this show has been months in the making. So to our listeners, welcome to the OFFS podcast, which we'll talk about that name here in a minute. But I just want to say I'm so excited to be in this space with my beautiful friend Vanda. You look gorgeous today, doll. Gorgeous.
As do you, darling.
I'm in doctor mode today, so yesterday not so much.
I am totally wearing sweatpants. So yeah.
Isn't that called the Zoom mullet? Like when you look fancy on the top and you got the sweatpants on below? Isn't that the Zoom mullet?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Because it's my nighttime.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that because there's a huge time difference between the two of us. And I think it's really important to like the context of this conversation and, you know, why we decided to come together at this time and have this conversation. But let's get the official stuff kind of out of the road. So to our listeners, I just want to say I'm so happy to be here. I'm Fiona, chiropractor, menopause and women's brain health specialist. I'm a wife, an auntie, a daughter, sister, and a cat mom. I'm a knitter. I'm a podcaster, a writer, and a friend. And you can find out more about my professional work at Not Your Mother's Menopause Podcast and drlovely.com. How about you?
I'm Vanda. I'm also a chiropractor. I have my master's in positive psychology. I am a YouTuber, new to the podcast world. I'm newly married. I'm a daughter, sister, and cat mom to steal. My personal goals, I'm trying to fill up all the pages of my passport before it renews every 5 years. I'm Canadian who fled the cold weather. I'm so sorry that it's like minus 30 right now. But I'm a Canadian who fled the cold weather, and I live now in Dubai, and I've been here almost 14 years. And I am a classic overuser of the purple heart emoji. So yeah. But you can find out more about me at drvanda.com. That's drvanda.com.
Yeah. So like, what about your YouTube thing? Like, let's talk about that gig.
YouTube. It's funny. I was getting a facial, and I know it's really random. I have them. If you ever come visit me in Dubai, Fiona, I have the most amazing lady that does the most amazing facials. And she always ends actually like we started right before we started this podcast today with an intention. And after you're done your facials, she like will say an intention with you. And throughout the entire thing, I was like, I've talked about doing meditation and affirmations for years. You know this. And then finally she was just like, I want you to go home. I want you to record it and I want you to send it to me. And I was like, okay. It was kind of like, she like challenged me to do it. So that's what I did. It was a Friday afternoon. I came home. I opened up my computer, kind of figured out what I wanted to do, wrote some affirmations, and then recorded a video. I did like a meditation and then I did an affirmation video. And honestly, I kind of was doing them every like 3-4 days, just kind of putting it out there. And within 55 days, I was monetized, which was crazy. And the first affirmation video, I know, the first affirmation video that I did, it just took off. Like, I mean, not like crazy viral, but I mean, tens of thousands of views. And I was like, maybe there's something that people actually want to hear this as well. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. So that was in August. And now I'm just building my little YouTube channel. I hit 4,000 subscribers today. And
that's amazing.
Hundreds of thousands of views, and yeah, it's just taken off. So it's super fun.
The world of business is so different now that we've got this online platform, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So boring. We'll talk about that another time.
but anyways, it all started with a facial.
Yeah, okay, so I have two things to say. Rightfully so. People need to hear your voice, and this beautiful container that you've created where you're sharing these affirmations that I think are just gorgeous. So I'm not surprised at all to see how well it's done. That's number one. Number two is this goddess facialist that you're talking about responsible for this exquisite complexion you have today?
I think it's yeah, actually, she is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the shout out to Claire. Thank you, Claire. And then also I think I have some good lighting and a little bit of makeup, but
Listen, Barbara Walters has always been correct on this, that if good lighting can hide so many things.
it is amazing. I never
Yes.
really I
Yes.
never really figured that out before, but now that you're on camera more, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
lighting. It's the way to
Yes.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you don't have it, you're like, oh, right. Okay. I can see I need to get on Amazon and order a ring light. I happen to be in the office today and I have this beautiful wall of windows in front of me. And so it's gorgeous natural light. And that's part of the reason why I chose to record in here today, because it's
Will you
easier on
look
the eyes.
with your beautiful peaches and cream complexion?
Thank you, darling. I'd like to thank my Scottish ancestry for that.
You match your sweater today. It's like
I
this one.
do. Pasty AF. That's what it is. Okay, so I want to share the story of how it is that this podcast came to be. So, like, just a little history. Vanda and I met like quite accidentally, but not so accidentally. It was 25 years ago this year, and we were in another country.
I'm not that
so,
old, by the way. I'm only like 26.
well, I know, and I was like 6 when I met you. So, like, hey, no, 7, right? Aren't we like 7? I think
7,
we're
yeah.
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're 7 years apart in age. So, as you start to listen to us, and this, in case you're doing the audio, this is Fiona speaking. So there's 7 years difference between the two of us, which means I am so firmly Gen X, it's ridiculous. So you'll get the sassy and sweary from me. Sarcastic's probably the other one. And Vanda's like my millennial filter. She's here to bring the love and light.
I'm a Zennial. So I am the translator between the analog Gen X to the digital millennial. So I'm literally the translator because I grew up with a digital childhood, analog childhood, but have a digital teenage years. So
Wow.
I
Okay,
understand
listen, we
both.
need to come back to that. So like, can we like put a little bookmark right there and come back to this? Because I want to continue this story, but I want to talk about this more for our listeners. I think this context is really interesting. But so last spring, I happened to listen to a podcast that is female sportscasters. I love the NFL and I love football. And I thought, okay, well, I like these ladies on TV. So let's have a listen. And the name of the podcast is completely gone from my perimenopausal brain, but I can tell you it's Erin Andrews and Clarissa. Anyways, I'm sorry, ladies, I'll correct that. But so I thought I was going to get like maybe a female take on football. That's kind of what I was thinking was going to happen. And it ended up being a girlfriend chat. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, I'll just turn this off. Isn't really anything. And I was like, wait a minute, what they're talking about is like really interesting.
Yeah.
This was about the same time that like Smartless was starting to take off. And to hear those three guys have a conversation. Have you ever listened to this podcast?
I've only heard it once, but it's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And it's got some really interesting characters. And I thought, there's really something too. And I was having a conversation with my brother and he said, well, people just like to listen to other people having a conversation. And so my Gen
That's
X
true.
brain went,
Yeah.
okay, this is interesting because when I was a kid, I identified that the smartest people I knew were the ones that listened to talk radio, like talk AM radio. Like who listened to that?
My dad used to be able to hear him
Exactly.
listen to 1060 driving down the road. We used to joke that you could hear the talk radio before you could see the car.
And your dad's a brilliant man. Exactly. You're making my point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
pretty
either
smart, pretty
that,
smart. Yeah, pretty smart.
exactly, either that or my grandparents who were on the farm, and that was the only channel you could get when you were in the tractor. And this was before the days of, I mean, even having it like a tape deck that wasn't heard of. It was more like 8-track tape deck.
Right.
We didn't
Yeah.
have those in the
8-track.
tractor, right? So like I just was thinking about this, and this whole idea that listening to people have a conversation, people that enjoy each other have a conversation, is actually something that makes us feel in community. And you know, as a healthcare provider, I'm really very curious and interested in this whole community conversation. And just to kind of go into the metaphysical of it for a minute, we are in the age of Aquarius, and this is what we're in. We're in this space of getting together and solving the problems and healing together in community. So there is nobody else on this planet that I would rather have a conversation with about healing than you. First of all, because our container has always been laughter, like literally since the moment we met, is we figure all this shit
I
out
think
of the
so. Yeah,
world.
you're right.
You know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So
It's
do
always
you
been a
want
little bit of laughter.
Oh, so much. In fact, I said to a friend this morning, I said, Vanna's going to make me laugh so hard and have patience to see today. So I better put on the good mascara.
We're in the good mascara.
I did have the good
Absolutely.
mascara on today. So like, what do you remember about the first time we met 25 years ago?
Okay. Can we just pause 1 second? This is where I'm gonna like put a little, like when I do the video, I'll pause it because my husband is snoring on the couch. Do you hear him? Is the mic picking it up?
No. I think the worst thing we could do right now is edit this out. Our husbands are so supportive of this experience. He's a tired boy. Actually, Van, I can't hear him, so it's all good. He's go
You
on.
can't hear him?
No.
Okay. I was gonna throw the remote at him.
Oh God,
I'm so sorry.
thank you.
I was like, we're doing a podcast. You gotta be gone. He's like, I want to put my AirPods in. He's watching the football game. He's obviously just falling asleep with his AirPods in. He's just like sawing logs on the couch.
So we want to thank Waleed for this moment.
Thank you, Waleed, for giving
bringing us
closer.
All right.
Sorry. Okay. Whew, okay.
Perfect. That's perfect.
We met. Oh my gosh. We met in good old Davenport, Iowa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for Lyceum. So we both went to the same school. And in the summer, they have like homecoming get together thing. And that's where they have prospective students. And when I was younger, I guess I was, you'd probably call me an extrovert when I was younger, even more so than I am now.
That's hilarious.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Fiona's laughing because I'm definitely an extrovert.
Yes.
But I would just happen to look over and see this beautiful lady standing. Were we sitting beside? We are either sitting beside each or standing. One of the two.
We were in the courtyard, right?
We were in the courtyard on those chairs, and I don't even remember who was talking. It might have actually been Schmidl.
I was thinking it was Schmidl too.
Yeah, I think it was Schmidl, and he was giving some boring talk about neurology, but there
it would have been PNS stuff. And
yeah,
so those listening, that's peripheral nervous system.
Nobody was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I see you said to whoever was listening. The thing was, even then, nobody was listening to what he was saying.
And trying to desperately stay awake.
But I just happened to look over and we had these huge name tags on. Remember, it was like massive, like 4 by 5 inch, like name tag things around our neck. And I looked over and you said Calgary, Alberta. And I was like, hey, are you from Calgary? And she's like, I am. And she was like a little like taken back by this crazy young, it's like 19.
Yes, you were. Yep. And I just got married to my first husband, right? Because he was there with me.
And I was between high school and I was just about to start my first year university. And I just saw you and I was like, this woman needs to be my friend if she's from my hometown.
Because we were like so Calgary, Alberta, like if you're in the United States, everybody knows United States. So Calgary is like north of Idaho, okay, or western Montana.
Above Montana.
Yes, where we were was not very far from Chicago. So a long ways from home.
Yeah. And I was just like, you. And then that was it. I don't know. I just remember coming over and talking to you. And then the school had a couple of like programs in Calgary. When I was going to University of Calgary, then we met up there a little bit more. And then And were you there the next year?
Mhm.
I don't think I went the next year. Did we meet?
Yep. Yep.
But I started, I started school in 2001. So
Well, we started hanging out in
yeah,
Calgary because I would come
yeah,
down to your parents'
exactly.
practice, right?
Yeah,
And I was new to Calgary at the time.
that is right.
And
Yeah, because I was like,
yes,
where do you live? And you're like, I don't know.
no,
Or like,
you said
you knew where you
said
lived, but I mean,
it,
like,
you go,
the
you from
area.
Calgary, I'm from High River. And I went, where's High River? Who doesn't know where High River is if you live in Calgary, right? It's sort
Yeah,
of like
exactly.
it's sort of like one of these outlying sort of bedroom communities to the city of Calgary. And so I had
Yeah.
just moved to the province of Alberta. And so and I remember your enthusiasm that day, which your energy has stayed static, my friend, all these years later.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
walking the gauntlet, or maybe it's better, crucible is a better analogy here. Going through the crucible of professional school together is something that cements people. Like you think about your best
Mhm.
friends in your life, chances are
Yeah,
most of us have
100%.
that experience in common, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like, because even just this past year when I got married and a lot of people showed up from Palmer, it was crazy. It was like, it was such a good time. And from our old school, and you just literally picked up where we left off, even if I
Yeah.
haven't seen somebody in, 10, 15, 20 years. It's my
I
20th
love
year
that.
anniversary this year. It's
Isn't
crazy.
that
So it's
something?
like,
It's
yeah,
awesome. I love
yeah.
it. I love it.
But I remember us going to Panera. Remember
Oh
going to
God, it's way
Panera?
too much.
Yeah.
Back in the
Way too
days when
much
I ate
Panera.
bread,
Yeah, right. Not gluten
that
free.
feels like
And
forever
then I
ago.
would babysit your cats.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah, it was
Auntie
we
Vonda.
go way
Thank
back.
you, thank you.
I
I know.
still when I throw something for Steele, I do the Auntie Fiona. Ready?
Yes,
Go gets it.
you must. You must. Actually, I remember one of the times you came to the house when this was when we were both in Calgary before you moved to Dubai. You were taking care of the kitties over the weekend, and I was giving you the instructions on feeding time, and you looked at me and you said, "So basically, I just need to make a bunch of noise and they'll come." And I was like, "Yeah." Do you remember saying that to me?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Honestly, there's not a day in my life that goes by that I don't think about that. Feeding my pets. There's usually a song, there's usually a lot of noise, and they come anyways.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's
all
our
you would actually have to do is open the can of food and they would show up. But
100%. Listen, they have
yeah.
precognition on this shit. So I was getting ready to come out and it's like 9 o'clock and they're like, it's time for lunch. I'm like, no, it's not. It is absolutely not time for lunch. Anyways. So that's our origin story. So we've been good friends ever since. Now we're separated by a whole lot of oceans and land masses, but
It's only like 12,000 kilometers.
oh God. And I have not yet been to Dubai.
No, you
And
haven't.
no, and it's on the
I'm
list.
looking at you, Fiona.
I know your
I'm looking
husband
at
said to
you.
me, you have to come now. I'm like, okay, fine, fine. So, anyways, this is our origin story. We enjoy each other's company very much. So we thought we'd sort of open the door to letting other people be a part of our conversations. And we expect those conversations are going to be broad ranging. So here's a funny story. Waleed, Vanda's husband, said to us recently, "How come not Dr. Vanda and Dr. Fiona on the intro?" To which Vanda said, "If we're gossiping about the Kardashians, we don't want it to reflect poorly on our professional experience." And somehow that devolved into Sir Mix-a-Lot lyrics. So this is pretty typical of our conversations, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, baby's got back. So yeah.
Vanda sent me a random text one day. This was a few years ago now. She said, "Don't you miss the sound of a cracking whip in songs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I do." And then we just had a moment. So I don't know what music is doing it for you right now. What are you listening to? It's okay. There is no shame in this.
Okay, because I still listen to the same music that I listened to in the 90s and 2000s. My era is 1992 to 2005. That will probably never change. I mean, I think it's like this for most people. I mean, I listen to some new stuff. It's okay. I'm becoming like a certified Swiftie this summer, probably like everybody else. And I actually listened to just not the popular songs, and I'm super impressed with her songwriting like prowess. So go Taylor. But yeah, I just mostly like 90s, 2000s.
That's okay.
Anything with a cracked whip. I love EDM. I mean, I love like dance music with good melody. So like Avicii was my hero. Very sad that he's passed.
R.I.P.
But yeah, nothing will get me in a better mood than like listening to Levels. Yeah, you know, or Wake Me Up. Yeah. But yeah, lately, honestly, I just haven't been listening to a lot of new music recently. Actually,
that's because it's not very good.
It's real well, but it's all the 90s music. Every single song that you put on is actually a song that they did in the 90s. Like What Is Love? I don't know who redid that.
Hadaway.
And then like Hadaway, but they've redone it recently.
They did.
And then
is it crap?
It's a theme.
Well, that's one way to do it.
and then who else? With like BB Rexa or whatever her name is, and David Guetta.
Wait,
like
I
Blue,
saw her,
Eiffel 65.
Okay.
Like, it's all the same. It's like literally like every second. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm
I
good.
shouldn't quit my day job.
Yeah, I'm feeling all right, baby. I'm about to have the best time of my life.
So this is a big philosophical question then. Do you think that this applies to music and other things too? Do you think there's original thought anymore?
Right now? No. The same thing with movies. Can we get enough with the superhero crap? Just give me a movie that's not from Marvel or DC universe. Okay. Like I'm fine, but can not every single movie be a superhero movie?
Do you think we're still like recovering from the pandemic where everything was shut down, and then we had the whole SAG-AFTRA thing over the last year? So we're just not seeing.
I think we're really like severely limited in what's like going on as far as what movies we get, because it just and unfortunately I don't know if you guys at home, but our movie theater here is a little bit, we usually get things a little later, and we don't get things as like fast as you guys do in North America. So but then they sometimes limited runs, like a movie will only be in theaters here for like 3 days, so if you miss it, you miss it. So
that's unfortunate.
But it's all superhero crap. So don't get me wrong, I love a good like Avengers Endgame, but like every movie.
Right. Yeah, I get it. That was the last movie I saw was whatever the Marvel movie was with the 3 girls, superheroes.
I
wish I could remember it.
It's just called Marvel or something.
It might be. It might be. Anyways, I thought it was quite good. Supergirl power. So for that, I was all over it.
I'm all about Supergirl power. That's cool.
Let's get something different. I have not yet gone to see the second Aquaman movie. Let me be honest, I don't give a shit about what the plot line is. I'm there strictly for thirst trap moments with Jason Momoa.
Did you hear that they're getting divorced officially?
Yes,
Lisa Bonet and Jason Momoa. Yeah,
I did.
I mean,
so now I'm watching.
Sorry to hear the end of the thing, but at the same time, so you're saying there's a chance? Wait, I just got married.
Here's the thing. I have a thing with like Jason Momoa. So my hall pass, right, is for Jason Momoa or Lenny Kravitz, right? And so my husband knows it.
How did she do this?
I know. So I'm busy. I'm not watching the guys. I'm watching the girlfriend. I'm like, who's my next obsession? Like, I got to see who she's dating next.
Seriously. I'm just like, what kind of magic does Lisa Bonet have? Like, this is impressive.
Oh, I don't think it's in her head, dear. I think it's lower.
Okay.
Well, listen, we're talking about the vag these days.
More power to her.
I mean, know. Like, I want to know what's happening down there. Like, give us some tips here.
Spread the magic.
Did you watch the Golden Globes?
I did not, because they were on at like 4:00 in the morning over here.
Well, that makes sense. And there's, just so everybody knows, there's an 11-hour time difference between us, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So it's 10:37 a.m. for me, and it is
9:37 p.m.
Apparently bedtime for Waleed. Oh, sorry, dude. Vanda's husband, you're just tuning in. Vanda's husband is snoring on the couch.
So if you hear any strange noises in the back, it's him snoring.
We're going to blame him. Okay, back
I
to the
threatened
Golden
him
Globes.
within an inch of his life. I'm like, you do not make any noise. I'm on a podcast. And then he falls asleep and snores.
It's so, Ben, honestly, you couldn't have planned it more perfectly as far as I'm concerned. So. And if somebody's here for the news, for serious, oh boy, you just move along, get on your bike and ride. Jog on. Bye-bye. See
Have
ya.
a good ride.
Thanks
Bye.
for visiting.
Take care.
Okay, back to the
All the
Golden Globes.
best. Yeah.
So, first of all, I thought it was great. Although I have to say, despite our Ted Lasso friends being there, they were shut out,
I know.
which is
I love Ted
unfortunate.
Lasso.
I know, like seriously, best show ever.
I want them to come back out. It's so good.
I do too.
If you
That's
haven't
hopeful.
watched Ted Lasso, watch Ted Lasso. Even if you don't like football, it's hilarious.
Please
It's
press
so
pause
well
on this
written.
podcast and go watch
And
Ted
just
Lasso.
Just go.
You will
Season
understand
1.
us so much better once you
binge
see
it.
In my life, I aspire to cuss like Roy Kent. Like, really,
Right?
he is like, he's that guy for me.
Hero. Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay, anyways, Golden Globes.
Great.
So the big, I mean, there's always got to be some sort of controversy,
Some
right?
drama.
I know the drama today and yesterday was Gillian Anderson, formerly of the X-Files. Although I know she's done other things since then.
I didn't hear about this.
Wore a dress that she had embroidered with vulvas. Now, of course, the media is calling it vaginas, and I'm going, see, this is the problem. This is why a man thinks the clitoris is behind the kneecap. It is not. That is not.
That's why they can never find it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So she is very. I mean, I don't know if you've been on her social.
With vulvas.
Vulvas. Yep. Now it's a cream dress, and the embroidery is cream colored, so it's very subtle.
I'm totally Googling this right now.
Oh yeah, you gotta zoom in on this, but don't go for vulvas, go for vagina, I'm telling you.
Okay.
So let's just be clear from the female health provider in the room. Vagina's the inside bits, the outside bits is the vulva.
100%.
So if we're talking about the lovely, frilly, flower-like appearance on the outside, that is the vulva. The place where you put the tampon or other things and have the babies is the vagina.
The JJ.
Yes, it is.
It's not
By the way,
same, guys.
They have just opened up, Vanda, you'll love this. They have just opened up a vaginal health clinic here in Calgary. It's in Bridgeland.
Amazing.
Isn't that something? I applied to be a patient. Let's see if they let me, if they let me in, if they decide my vagina's worthy. I had to fill out an application, just so you know.
But what? Okay, sorry, I'm distracted by the vagina.
I can tell.
Barely see it on her dress.
I know it's
like
subtle though, right?
She's wearing a white, like here for the readers, if you can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's very it's super subtle. Like you can barely tell.
Yeah, you can, but if you know it's there, if you know,
I mean, I guess if you know it's there, you know it's there.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
also
you do.
vulvas, not vaginas.
So,
sorry, go back to this health clinic. Yes.
Yeah, it's good. I think I already dropped my comedic nuggets there. So it's all good. We'll see. But yes, vaginal health clinic here in Calgary. It's got everything from MDs to pelvic floor physio to gynecologists to psychology to, I mean, there's all kinds of things. So it's going to be really interesting to see what it's like. But yeah, I hope they take me as a patient. I would like to be able to refer patients there. But anyways, we're not talking about that today. But yes, Gillian Anderson was kind of the controversy, if we're talking from the British perspective, of what was going on in the Golden Globes. And I'm like, have you seen the gals on TikTok? I'm sure there's others that do it, but that go to it's like a young comedian female. She goes to like college campus and she starts asking the guys, like, can you pee with a tampon in?
I don't know if I've seen the exact one that you're talking about, but I have seen this. Yes.
Yeah. Or do you know which hole you put the tampon in?
Responses are ridiculous. Like, do you have to take out your tampon to pee? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Can you have a bowel movement if you have a tampon in? Like, you know, it's kind of absurd, but when you think about what we got for sex ed in North America, at least in Canada, this was true in the public school system, not the separate school system, was how not to get pregnant and how not to get an STD. But we were taught nothing about, anatomy, pleasure anatomy. Like, actually, when I brought this up with my husband last night, he said, no, we were taught how to put a condom on. That's what we were taught. And I was like, okay, well, that's useful information, but do you think we could have gone beyond that?
Look. Like, no glove, no love. Wrap it before you tap it. Like, those were that's
wrap your whopper.
Yeah, seriously. I got most of my sex education from MTV. So we had a satellite. So living in Canada, growing up, we didn't have a lot of American. We had much music. We didn't have MTV. But in the States, they had a show called Sex in the 90s. And that is where I learned the majority of my sex education from, was the show on MTV called Sex in the 90s. I bet it's on YouTube, like old episodes. And it was fascinating. The stuff that I learned at like 14 years old.
Who was the host?
Amazing.
Do you remember?
They didn't really have a host, but it just like every topic was something different. So they talked about STD, they talked about AIDS, they talked about pregnancy, they talked about like alternative lifestyles, they talked about, LGBTQ plus, but at that time there was not that many letters. Just like all the, it was so informative. And honestly, that's where I got all my sex education from.
Oh my God,
that
thank you, MTV.
Yeah,
books.
Right?
Yeah.
Books. Yeah. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That's how I learned about a period.
Yep. And
my parents are doctors. I mean, there was nothing, any like taboo in my house that we talked about. And I probably got way more education than a lot of my friends. But even then, like, so I got very little, and it was very an open conversation in my house. So, like even I remember sometime one of my favorite things that ever happened, not favorite, that's a stretch, but I was really PMSing, like super PMSing. And I was probably like, I don't know, 13 or 14, something like that. I used to have horrible period cramps. And I remember I was in the kitchen, and my brother, who's 4 years older than me, so he would have been like 16 or 17, something like that. And I'm just like, we're both getting cereal, trying to get out the door in the morning. And I just kind of like grunted at him and like, like,
yeah.
And
like
he was just
like,
God, what's wrong with you this morning? I'm like, dude, back off. I started my period this morning. And he just looks at me. And honestly, he was just like, whoa. He's like, Vanda, I'm so sorry. He's like, and he kind of like just moved out of the way for me. And he's like, you just do whatever you need to do. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, hey, if I lost a gallon of blood before breakfast, I'd be really pissed off too.
I love it.
I've always remembered that. So yeah, shout out to my brother.
Yes,
but
thank you, Jay.
So
for
it was
that.
always kind of a conversation in our house, but it wasn't like, even then we still
wasn't a big discussion.
Yeah.
Well, and I think education about menstruation in our bodies is really important, but I think, why aren't we necessarily putting that with the sex ed? Like, why aren't we getting the primer on pleasure? Like, was it 1994 was when women's pleasure anatomy was actually mapped? That's in our lifetimes, dude.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even our lifetime. It's in our like, it's in our recent history.
In our prime, sister. And certainly for me, those were prime years for me.
I was a little young, but yeah, like, it's crazy though. It's crazy, but also this is a soapbox for another time, just women's health in general.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could go on about that one. Like you said, I mean, that's kind of my professional world. So, but I was recently talking to my nurse practitioner, who is my hormone doc. Okay. So it's in Canada here at this time, there's just not that many medical doctors, prescribers who know how to prescribe HRT properly. But it seems to me that those that are doing more private clinics, like the nurse practitioners here in Alberta anyways, and actually in other provinces, the naturopaths, but the naturopaths don't have prescribing rights here in Alberta, can do the hormones better. And she said to me, it's time for you to have a PAP. She said, I'm happy to do it for you. I can do it at the end of the day. Just come at the end of my day and I'll do it then. And I said, with all this vaginal dryness, I'm a little bit nervous. And she goes, oh, and I warm it up with warm water. And then I talk softly to you. And I tell you to go to your happy place. And then I slowly advance it. And
Aw.
I started laughing. I said, I sure wish you were the first person I had sex with. Like that at all. She's like, I'm pretty sure that's inappropriate, but we're going to laugh about it anyways.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so there's so much conversation to be had about women's health. But I said to my husband in a similar conversation that you had with Jay. So I said to Aaron the other day, as I was lamenting the amount of bleeding I was doing, I said, you know, the world would be a very, very different place if men had menstrual periods. And his response was
1000%.
right? He goes, dude, if men bled out their dicks for 5 days every month, if you're lucky, by the way, 5 days if you're lucky every month,
on the short side, yeah.
this would be a very different place to live. I'm like, exactly. Can we get some GD respect, please?
Yeah, seriously. 'Cause yeah. I can't remember the country off the top of my head, but they just brought in like period days off.
Yeah, so the UK does that. There's an
Was it
African country that does it as well. I just can't remember. Is it
just a
Ghana?
couple months ago. I'll have to look that up.
And
But
it's
good for
coming.
them,
Like
amazing.
the UK is doing a really good job around these things. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, like because I know some days, and I control my own schedule, like and
Yeah.
some days I go to work on the first or second day of my period, and I'm just like,
Nope.
why am I here?
Yep.
Like I'm
Yep.
just not. And yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to have that conversation because I think when we were younger, uh, we were sort of what the tampon ads taught us was that you just chuck a pawn in and then you go swimming
There
and
you
you
go.
play
Go swimming.
tennis
Go
and
play
you go
tennis.
horseback riding and you're like,
All those
are
stupid,
you okay?
colorful Playtex commercials.
Here we go. Oh, for
Yeah.
fuck's sakes, that is not what I'm doing on my period. Let me tell you. Hell no.
No, no. I am on the couch with a bag of chips and a hot water bottle. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Yep.
Like that's not, yeah,
Exactly. And I
not
think
horseback
normalizing,
riding.
no, God, no. I mean, Jesus, I feel
No.
like I'd have to train for that even if I wasn't on my period. I'm at the point now where at the age of 50, I look at my menstrual calendar before I book big things like travel, number one.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
If I'm getting asked to be booked like a big talk, no way is that going to be on period week. Certainly when I'm going in to see the pelvic floor physio, I'm like, I better look before I book
Yeah,
that
of course.
appointment.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Vanda, next week I'm going for the first time.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. It feels
that's
like the right.
fun.
Well, I advise women to go and make sure their
Yeah.
pelvic floor is
No,
working
exactly.
properly. So I should probably know what happens. I mean, I kind of know what happens, but let's just say, and if you want to discuss it in a later podcast episode, I
Would
can
love to.
let me put that in my calendar maintenant.
Pelvic health update. Yes. How's the Kegels?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We can check in. We can check in every day. Be like, how's the Kegels? Are they
How's
going
it
well?
going? How's it
Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's so much we have to learn. I want to know, to go like way back to a pin I dropped in our conversation earlier, was what was it like? What do you remember about life before the internet?
I read a lot more. I was a reader, so I would always be at the library buying books. I used to buy 3 books like at least a month when I was like 12, 13. I would Nancy Drew,
Mm-hmm.
Babysitter's Club,
Mm-hmm.
in Sweet Valley High. Those are the 3
Mm-hmm.
books that I would spend my allowance on every month, and like because a new episode or new book came out every month.
Mm-hmm.
I think I went outside a lot more in the summer, of course, at home. I just think it was a little bit like more relaxed, but at the same time, I think I have just about as much spare time as I do now. If not, I actually have more spare time now because the internet, especially here in Dubai, like we do everything online. Like there's nothing that you really can't do online, as in order groceries, have them delivered to your door. Any pharmacy, anything you want delivered, you can have delivered. Everything here runs on WhatsApp, which is like the messenger, which I know you guys in North America don't use very much.
I do,
But,
thanks to you.
Yeah. Send location, please. Like that's the that's the big thing here. Yeah, so I just use it all the time. Like my phone is continually in my hand, and unless I'm working, that's it. And for better or for worse, but I mean, I don't know. Life before the internet. I didn't have to rewind songs, so it's really nice now where I have every single song that I could ever imagine at my fingertips, which is awesome. When I want to listen to little Captain Hollywood more and more, like it's there. Yeah, right.
Snap,
Well,
dude,
the other day was just
on.
like more and more, and I was like, "That's the song," and he'd never heard it before because he grew up in Algeria. So like, so I'm like,
yeah.
Stuff like that, where you can just like bang have a song. Whereas before, I would have to go through one of my 25 tapes that I recorded off the radio that I know it was the 5th song on side B. Stuff like that.
I'm adding it to my playlist, by the way.
Nice.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, like I love when you get those nuggets, right? As I was driving into the office this morning, I was listening to Andrew Huberman talk to Rick Rubin. And so okay. So the episode those guys dropped the last week of December 2023 is probably my favorite podcast episode of the entire year. It's got so much usable information in it for me. I don't know if other people will feel the same way. I'm personally fascinated with the idea of art and creation before all other things. And like nobody does that better than the music Yoda that we call Rick Rubin, right? I know. Right? And for those listeners who don't know Rick Rubin is, he's a music producer, and he has produced, he produced the License to Ill album for the Beastie Boys. I was 13 years old when that album came out, and it was like a game changer in my brain.
Sabotage.
Exactly. The Ramones, Johnny Cash, Metallica, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I literally just talked about this in my last podcast episode for Not Your Mother's Menopause. And
Dr. Dre, Eminem,
yes,
50 Cent,
yes, LL Cool J. Come on, like,
oh my God! 10 minutes before we started this podcast,
yeah,
Phenomenon that came on my little. I know, ladies love Cool James. I know,
ladies love Cool James.
It was awesome.
Music.
Have a little dance party.
The best way to regulate your nervous system, as far as I'm concerned.
Just have a little dance party. 100%. Yeah.
Like music rules our world. My husband and I are constantly, we've got a playlist on, whether it's in our ear or certainly in the car.
Except when I take it over when I come to visit, and then I put like Aqua Barbie Girl on, and then he loves me.
Da, da, da. You are literally the only person on the planet. Like, I don't even think he'd let his sister do that. Like, there would be fur flying, trust me.
Yeah. I was like, we're not listening to this metal crap. And then I was like, Aqua, Dr. Jones. Yeah, it was great. Rhythm as a Dancer. Snap. So I've messed with your husband's algorithm more than once with Snap or Spotify playlist.
So good.
Sorry, Aaron.
Actually, to be honest with you,
Love
it
you.
is so worth it to see his face when all of that is going on. I mean, that's just gold. That's just gold for my sweet husband.
Just like, let's see your phone.
Oh my God, the fact that he even gave you his phone. I can't even believe that. Excuse me. Like, he would rather die. I'd have to pry that phone from his cold dead hand. You apparently have the passcode, so you can let me know what it is.
I put my face on his phone. I can just get in by looking at it now.
Okay, so one of the things that Huberman and Rick Rubin were talking about this morning, they were having a conversation about sort of, these streaming services. And Rick Rubin said, it was like when he was talking about sort of Napster era, like when things, you were
Napster.
that was so good, wasn't it? Like,
Napster was my first year university.
Okay.
You know what what was the first song you ever downloaded off Napster? I'm not promoting illegally downloading music by any sense of the imagination, but it was 1999 and we all did it.
And we all
was
did
the
it because
first
there weren't rules then. Rules.
it wasn't illegal yet.
You know what? At that time, I was so into like the deep house cuts that it was probably something like obscure club music, like that was like the B-side of a white label, something or another. But you obviously remember exactly what yours was.
Mine was the Jock Jams Mega Mix for 1999.
Oh.
Yeah, remember those mega mixes that they used to do?
Oh yeah.
He could go all the way. Dun, 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 dun. Are you ready for this? Yeah,
Technotronic was in there in that mix
awesome.
for sure, right?
It's still one of my favorite songs. I need to send it to you.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
No, he was talking about Napster, and what was really interesting was to hear from the like creative Jedi, and he said, "What I learned that I love is not DJing, but to see what the mix would bring me next." Meaning you just put on, and I think YouTube does a better job of this. Like I'm not a YouTuber, although I suspect after the start of this episode and podcast, I might become one, but you're a YouTuber and my husband's a YouTuber as well. And so you guys kind of fill me in, but like, apparently there's like what is it called? Intelligent mix or something like that, where it like brings in music that you know what I'm talking
just
about.
Thinks that it just stuff that you think that the algorithm thinks that you will like. That's how they get you to
and
listen
then you
longer.
just like you press a button and it ends up adding it to your playlist and that kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
how cool is that? Like, did we see that one coming? Like, you're so right. And by the way, I have an entire dresser drawer full of mixtapes that I cannot get rid of. Can anybody else raise your hand if you are listening to me and you're like, girl, me too?
I think, you know what, sadly, I think we actually did get rid of the mixtapes. My brother and I, we used to have, because Jason used to DJ. Jason's my brother. He used to DJ. So like, but he had everything on tape, and then we got CDs. So I have CDs, which even today, 30 years later, if you play, I can tell you the next song. Like like a mixtape CD, right? Like a mix CD, whatever. Yeah, I can still tell you like the order of the songs. Because I had I was pretty like rocking in the year 2000. I had a 6 CD changer in my Jetta. Yeah.
Jetta, it was white, wasn't it?
It was a white. Yeah, the one, yeah.
I remember it.
But I had a 6, but it was in the trunk. So you had to get out and get into the trunk, but you could put 6 CDs in there. So chances are those same 6 CDs stayed.
Oh yeah.
And they were all mixtape, like they were all mixes.
100%. Yeah. And what was funny about those like you had 6 on the deck is you'd probably rotate out 1 or 2 of them, but 3 of them stayed solid the whole time. Right.
100%. Yeah.
So for me, probably Jagged Little Pill was in there. Right. And again, GenX. Yes. Yeah. And Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And then for sure the others were dance mixes because I loved all of that. And you and I bonded over that kind of music early on too, didn't we?
Yeah. Chris Sheppard. Come on.
Come on. By the way, I'm going to blow your mind. So like nobody can find the guy. Okay. Just recently his name popped up on something I was looking at and I went, oh geez, I wonder if he's on social media. So the person I'm talking about was a DJ in Toronto where I came of age and he was on the radio.
Yeah.
And he at some point.
No. Celebration Generation? Was that him?
Was that
or was him? Was that Celebration Generation?
I just remember him saying
maybe that's Bob Sinclair. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd say things like Captain Hollywood on the Wheels of Steel. Remember that?
Well, and then he formed Love Inc., like Broken Bones.
And before that it was BKS, which was also amazing. You know the song Dreamcatcher was the name of their album. He was the S in Sheppard. Anyways, Chris Sheppard. So he is a Canadian sort of DJ. I don't know, he's quite memorable. Lots of people from my generation know who he is. And like I used to go to the club when he was DJing in the club for the radio. So which was a fun part of coming of age in Toronto. And then Vanda's out here in Alberta, and that
I
was in
saw him
Ontario.
when I was 18 and he was DJing at the Calgary Stampede. When I was 18,
Oh, I love it.
I got his autograph.
It's so good. Right?
Damn. Yeah. I was hanging out at the DJ booth.
Anyways,
so cool.
So he was like quite a bit older, I'm gonna guess, than me at that age. So I'm gonna guess he was like 10 to 15 years older than me.
Yeah, he would have been at least like 35, 40.
Exactly.
When I was 20.
21.
Yeah,
exactly.
So now today he'd be
like, he's an old dude.
30.
Anyways, like nobody can find him. Okay, right. I think I showed you this. So I had quite a few DJ friends. And so have I showed you this picture?
Look at you.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my gosh.
That's Chris Sheppard right there. Oh, looks like my husband opened the garage door. Anyway, there's me. There, yes, exactly. So I'm over here, and then
amazing.
This is Chris Sheppard, and then these are DJ friends of mine.
Yes.
So and that was taken at RPM, which was my favorite of the nightclubs that he would DJ at regularly. But anyways, so he's kind of fallen off the map, Van, and somebody was saying that he actually has a like PhD in astrophysics or astrology, and he teaches at McGill now with a different name.
What?
I know. Like if anybody listening to this actually can confirm that information, but like he doesn't want to be found. Yeah.
Why doesn't he use he's a Canadian legend.
He is a legend.
Legend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't know. Maybe listen, that was the day of raving, right? And like ecstasy and poor male behavior. I mean, this was the 90s, right? So I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't want to be found. God only knows.
He's a superstar. Reach for the sky. I'm sorry, I'm singing. I will stop singing.
It's okay. Your singing's great.
That's one of my favorite songs to this day. If like You're a Superstar or Broken Bones comes on the radio, because they play it actually over here a lot. And,
do they really?
Yeah,
I love that
on the radio. Yeah, and then of course it's on my playlist. So
yeah, on mine
my
too.
playlist, which is called Awesome, which I have just continually added songs to since 2015 when I converted everything to Apple Music. I just add songs to it. So and it's called Awesome because it's probably like 900,000.
Wow.
Something like
That's
that.
nuts.
I can check. I don't delete. I'm a digital hoarder. I don't delete stuff. So.
Listen, this is okay. As long as you don't mind paying for the storage. This is much better than being a physical hoarder, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, this is the thing. I actually take when I was when I had to clean out my room and stuff from my parents' house when I moved to Dubai. They were like, you need to get rid of your crap, Vanda. And I was like, fine. So like, throwing out teddy bears and stuff that I'd had for like 30 years, 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
But what I did was I actually took pictures of it. Yeah. So you take pictures of it because it's not the actual thing that gives you the memories. It's just the photo of it or the sight of it. Right. So I just took pictures of everything that I, was partying. Of course I kept a couple teddy bears.
Well, yeah.
One or two, but so I just took pictures of everything and it works just the same. So there's you can put together a little book, call it like your childhood toys and move on with your life without hauling around crap. Yeah.
Oh God, I know a little bit about that. So, yeah, there's a lot of threads I could pick up there, but I'm going to leave that for episode 2. You feel complete today, my friend.
Yeah. I love you, Fiona.
Love you, Vanda. It's been fun visiting, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed our little conversation. And we do have an Instagram page. Would you like to tell people about the Instagram page?
It's on Instagram, ohffs.podcast.
Nice.
Easy to find.
Yes.
And if you haven't figured it out yet, it stands for oh for fuck's sakes .podcast.
Yes.
Because Fiona says that a lot.
What?
I might say it once or twice too, but
she's not lying. She's not
It's going to
lying.
come out. You're going to see Fiona has this very, very special way to drop the F-bomb. So it'll come out at some point soon, I'm sure. So don't worry about it.
Listen, I'm in perimenopause. If I cannot have a word that encapsulates the experience of perimenopause, like, this is a problem. But I think that this word encapsulates it perfectly. And I will leave it at that.
I agree with you.
Okay, until next time, I hope you have an awesome sleep, my friend, because you're on your way to bed. I'm on my way to see some patients today.
Have an awesome day in the clinic.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Love you.
Love you too.
And there you have it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us for more behind-the-scenes content and updates on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at ohffs.podcast.
The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.